Hi, this is Jean Bedourde, your instructor for LIBR 200. The ninth topic for this course is digital inclusion and the digital divide. I'm the guest lecturer for this module. I'll be going to Internet Librarian Conference this coming weekend in Monterey, so let me know if you will be there so we can meet face to face. I'll also be at the iSchool reception on Monday night. I highly recommend going to conferences. They're a great opportunity to network with other students in the faculty, as well as meet other professionals in the field. I'm also looking forward to hearing Lee Rainey, the director of the Pew Internet Research Project, speak on the latest Pew research. There's always some new tidbits. He's an excellent speaker, as you can tell from the video for this module. His interpretation of survey results at this conference will be oriented to information professionals rather than the general audiences he usually addresses. So what is this digital divide? It refers to the gap between those who have access to the Internet and online information and those who do not, as illustrated by this graphic. The concern is that the gap is growing. The concern over the digital divide involves access to information, one of the core values of the information profession. Proponents of universal access argue that it should be a universal service, similar to the postal service, telephone, education, and broadcasting. Public libraries took up the challenge early in the adoption of the Internet. One by one, they wrote grants and squeezed budgets to fund the installation of public access computers and broadband service. Today, 99% of public libraries make this available to their patrons, as well as providing digital information and increasingly technical support. But public libraries have their limits. They've always had constraints on the number of hours the doors were open, and those hours have declined with budget cuts. Patrons have to transport themselves to the building that houses the library. Once there, time on a public access computer may be limited to an hour or so, which may not be enough time to complete a job application or do the research for a class paper. Ultimately, much of the debate about universal access centers around money and funding sources. Who pays for the different components? Individuals buy their own computers and smartphones and pay the monthly fees. But what about subsidies for low-cost computers and phones which may not be profitable from the manufacturer? There have to be organizations which provide the infrastructure necessary to support telecommunications for an entire user community. What role should the government play, and at what level? Local, county, state, or federal? Businesses pay for the equipment used by their employees, but will not build the infrastructure of optic fiber or cable, a role managed by local governments. Education faces a different set of issues. The typical K-12 school model is to provide computers and access in the library or a computer lab. But this means computers are not used for teaching. Some students may not have access to computers or the Internet in their homes, which places them at a disadvantage. Students at universities bring their own equipment, but the university has to provide the infrastructure for both faculty and students. San Jose State itself is spending $28 million to implement a 5-year plan to upgrade the university infrastructure, which includes telephones, high-speed internet, Wi-Fi, and wired classrooms. The bottom line is that providing internet access requires spending money for infrastructure. So where does the money come from? What are the priorities? And then who is going to provide the training and technical support? There will always be trade-offs. Moving on to the assignments for this topic. The lecture is a PDF plus some readings and videos. Your writing assignment for this module is to report on digital divide issues which impact your community. What is the level of access? How are your members accessing information using mobile and broadband access? Are they using smartphone apps? Once you've compiled this information and completed your blog post, please submit the URL the same way you posted the previous blogs. Focusing on your future EAT portfolio, this module also applies to Competency I. Use service concepts, principles, and techniques to connect individuals with accurate, relevant, and appropriate information. Increasingly, Internet access is the means for providing these services. I'm looking forward to your blog posts evaluating the digital divide for your information community.